Hello and welcome to FPL Mate, your best mate for fantasy-friendly content for the 2022-23 season. And my name is Dan, and it's been a while since I have said that intro, but we are back. FPL is back in just a short period of time. So I thought, let's get straight in. I have got a wild card, unlimited transfers team for you guys today. Game week 17. I've been working on this team over the last 24 hours. It's got some real differentials in there, and I think you're going to like it. So if you are hyped up about the Fantasy Premier League being back, make sure you leave a like. 1,000 likes on this video would be amazing, and do subscribe as well if you're new around here and you want some FPL content. But let's get straight into it. Okay, so I have spent 101.4 million on this team using those unlimited transfers. I think, a lot of you guys are going to have slightly less than this, slightly more than this. I've got slightly more budget than this, but I think I'll be saving just maybe a tiny bit in the bank. But this is what I'm rolling with, and it looks good, guys. So let's start off in goal, and I'm going to start you off with Kepa Arrizabalaga, who I do believe is going to be back and ready. I know he is still flagged, so if you guys are a little bit concerned about that one, then fair enough. Maybe you've got a backup goalkeeper who can do it. But I would like to go in on some Chelsea players, and Kepa of 4.5 million as the main starting Chelsea goalkeeper is going to be quite big. We've got two really good fixtures straight away with Bournemouth and Nottingham Forest, and then we've got Man City and Fulham in that double game week. So basically for 3 game weeks in a row, Chelsea play promoted teams, and one of them is a double game week. So hey, that looks pretty good to me. Even that Crystal Palace game after that is not too bad either. So Chelsea is definitely a team we want to target. 4.5 million for a goalkeeper from a top team. That's not too bad either, and we know Kepa on his day can be very, very good. We've seen some good performances from him. It seems like he's having a bit of a resurgence, doesn't it? So let's move on into defense now. We've got Cancelo first of all, a player I'm not obsessed with this pick. I love Cancelo obviously, but he's kind of been a little bit disappointing this season with his underlying numbers not being nearly as good as they have been in the past. But you still do fancy him to get clean sheets just by virtue of being a Man City defender. But maybe you can get the same thing from Kyle Walker. But what you can't get from Kyle Walker is, Cancelo will take shots, he will create, and he will pick up bonus points very, very naturally as well. And he's super nailed on. So these factors added together do often make Cancelo a really, really good pick. We've got Leeds and Everton up next, and we have got that double game week for Man City in just a few game weeks' time. So be aware of that one. Man United and Spurs, it's not the best double game week in the world, but still, this is Man City, and we still do want to be capitalising. Even a double game week against the hardest teams usually is, a better opportunity than a single game week against, an easy team, particularly if you're Man City anyway. So I like Cancelo a lot. I don't feel like he's essential necessarily, and if you do need to cut some corners and save some money, I do think there are options to move Cancelo to Kyle Walker, for example. But I think I'm going to go with Cancelo for now. Other options, potentially, if you want to go for a Liverpool defender here, I like the look of Andy Robertson in this position as well, so maybe he's an option for you to save a bit of money and go for another decent pick as well. Next up, we've got Kieran Trippier, 5.9 million he is now. Absolutely mad. He's been the hero of Fantasy Premier League so far this season. Maybe a few of you guys forgotten about that over the last couple of months, but don't let the World Cup distract you from the fact that Trippier has been immense for Newcastle, and Newcastle as a team have been immense. And Newcastle, right now we have to remember, very easy to forget, Newcastle are one of the best teams in the whole league now. They really are. They are Champions League contenders. Very, very strong Champions League contenders. Like, they can get in the top 4 this year. Let's not waste time messing about with that one. They're a very good team. They've got Leicester up first, which is arguably a little bit of a tricky game. They've got Leeds up next, which is nice. The Arsenal fixture I'm not too keen on, but then Fulham after that, that's not too bad really, is it? Overall, I think Trippier's got an okay, decent balance of fixtures over the next 4, and for the quality of the team, I wouldn't recommend going in for a couple of Newcastle defenders. Seems a little bit silly to go without Trippier with the creativity he produces, as well as those clean sheets, which Newcastle are doing so well. Newcastle before the break, second best defence in the league, arguably the first kind of best, depending on which kind of metrics you use, but either way, top defence. And finally, we're going to have Reece James in defence, who is a risky one. We know he's a risky one, don't we? We're still not 100% sure if he's 100% fit. He's probably not 100% fit, but again, the upside here, even if he does get rotated a little bit, we've got Bournemouth here, we've got Nottingham Forest here, we've got that double game week as well. If Reece James is being Reece James and getting very high up the pitch, playing as a right wing back, getting in those dangerous goal scoring positions, we know he can score goals, and we know how many points you get in FPL if your defender scores a goal. So that could be really, really, really nice there. So Reece James, I know he's a little bit risky, I do. And is he going to be 100% fit right away? Maybe not. Is he going to be able to play every game week? I'm not sure. It's difficult. He is a risky one, but he's a high reward, high risk, high reward kind of player. And I think he's definitely worth at least considering. And if we're going for some Chelsea players, you probably are going to want to triple up on Chelsea. I know some of you will say, okay, well, I won't triple up on Chelsea yet, but in a couple of game weeks, you know, I have a little bit of time to wait. I will try and get those Chelsea players locked in now because the next 2 fixtures are really nice as well for them. So Reece James is in. Into midfield, and we have got the return of Fernandes. So Bruno Fernandes, we know how good he is when Cristiano Ronaldo is not in the team. Not just because he's now going to be on penalties, but also because, you know, he's just been very good. And we saw how good he was again at the World Cup. Man United have turned their season around since the beginning of the season, and they've got some good fixtures to come as well. Nottingham Forest, Wolves and Bournemouth in the next 3. Followed by a slightly trickier fixture against Man City, but certainly in the immediate term, these fixtures do look quite nice. And I would be tempted to go in on a 1 or 2 Manchester United players just for this little period. And then maybe we can think about switching to some other players. Maybe we can, you know, I'm eyeing up in particular, maybe going Fernandes to a Man City midfielder, probably for that double game week in a few game weeks time. So when Man United play Man City, at that point I'll say, okay, we'll swap Fernandes, we'll bring in a Man City midfielder, whether that's Foden, whether that's someone else, depending on who is getting a lot of game time at the time. I'm thinking it's probably going to be Foden though. So yeah, for now, let's give Fernandes a go. Let's see if Fernandes can be back, because when he was prime Fernandes, he was the ultimate fantasy Premier League asset, wasn't he? He really was insane. Prior to Ronaldo, this guy was absolutely immense, and that's what we're going to get again, hopefully. We've got Mason Mount in here as well, so probably between him and Sterling, these are going to be your main attackers, I suppose, that you want to be targeting from Chelsea. The problem is with Chelsea is the rotation is going to continue to be a bit of a tricky one, so that's why I've gone for Kepa, who is going to be nailed on when he's available, which I think he is going to be, and Mason Mount is another one of those players who just seems super nailed on for Chelsea. Will just play every single game for them. So we're going to get the points from the Bournemouth and the Nottingham Forest game in that busy period. But then when the double game week comes around, hopefully we're going to get 2 starts out of Mason Mount. He hasn't been performing at his, you know, absolute top level prior to the break. We did see a little bit of a disappointing Chelsea prior to the break as well. But we know what Mason Mount can do, particularly when he's playing against some of the smaller teams. He can sometimes really go nuclear. We've seen in seasons gone by, you know, even towards the end of last season, where he just pulls out these random 15 pointers, 20 pointers. This can happen against any of these fixtures, particularly in that double game week where he's going to be picking up points against Fulham, you would think, and maybe a couple of bonus points against Man City as well. You never know, even if it's just for playing, but cheeky assist, something like that. Let's see what kind of Chelsea team we see when we come back from the break. Next up, we've got Marcus Rashford. So again, same nice fixtures. Got Nottingham Forest, Bournemouth in there. Wolves, I think, is a pretty decent fixture as well. Rashford played very well in the World Cup. He is a player reborn, and there's potential for him to be playing as a striker as well. Not 100% sure about that one. Obviously, we've got Martial there who could be playing as a striker, but Rashford without Ronaldo, is he going to be a better kind of prospect? Again, like, I know this sounds really harsh, and Ronaldo fans, I can only apologise, but when Ronaldo is not in this Manchester United side, they are a better side, and we saw the same thing in Portugal when Ronaldo wasn't playing. You know, Portugal were a better side. So I really feel like the form that Manchester United had coming into this break, the performances of these players during the World Cup, and these favourable fixtures, and Ronaldo now leaving the team, I think we're actually looking at a really, really positive time for Manchester United fans. And I think, therefore, I want to be going for a couple of their players. And Rashford at 6.7 million, it's a decent price, you know, very decent price. And finally, in midfield, who can forget our good friend Almiron? So those of you guys who had Almiron before the break will know very, very well that this guy is absolutely essential. He's been doing very well in friendlies as well during the off-season, still absolutely killing it. Like I say, there's some okay fixtures in here. Leeds and Fulham, we like the look of those. You could think about benching Almiron maybe in that Arsenal game, but maybe you have the faith in him and have the faith in Newcastle that he could do it even in the tricky games. Like, you know what? I wouldn't blame you if you thought that way either, because he really has been a superstar, a player reborn. It's like Messi has been inhabiting the body of Almiron, but Messi is about to finish the World Cup, so Messi needs to finish the World Cup, and now he needs to come back home and find a new body to inhabit. So he's going to be transferring his consciousness back into Almiron, ready for the Premier League to start again. And let's see what he can do. Going up front, Erling Haaland, of course. Who else? We're not going to go about him. Have you guys missed him? I don't know if any of you guys played World Cup Fantasy, but if you did, it's been tricky at times not having that captain in a player like Haaland, who you could just captain every single match day or game week, depending on what you want to call it. But yeah, Haaland is back. Leeds and Everton, next 2 fixtures. You're probably going to want to captain him for both of those fixtures. And then you've got the captain's armband on him for that Manchester United and Tottenham double game week. And by the way, guys, we could actually be seeing another Man City double game week shortly after that as well. There's still potential. We'll do another video, by the way, guys, so keep an eye out for another video when we're going to be talking about some of the potential double game weeks we could be seeing in the near future. But Man City are definitely a team to keep an eye on. We are doubled up on the Man City players here. I would be, like I said earlier, I would be looking to get in a third one when that double game week comes around. But for now, I would probably rather focus on, you know, making sure I'm tripled up on Chelsea and maybe some Fulham as well, which we'll see in a short moment. We've got Harry Kane up next. So Harry Kane is another player. I don't want us to forget just how good he was before the break. He was often in Haaland's shadow, but Kane, again, another super high scoring players. Like the algorithms and the underlying stats are suggesting that he is going to be one of the top scoring players over this period as well. Brentford, I know, you know, is known as a difficult fixture maybe, but Brentford this season have been shipping a lot of goals, shipping a lot of chances. They've been one of the weaker defences before the break. So again, maybe we're going to see Harry Kane have those opportunities to get back in a Tottenham shirt and do what he does best, you know. So we've got those nice fixtures there. And then, of course, we've got that double game week, Arsenal and Man City. And I know you guys will be saying, Arsenal and Man City, these are tough games, right? But Harry Kane is a very, very special kind of player, and he does have his favourite opponents, which we see consistently that he does well against. And Arsenal and Man City are 2 of those opponents where he just seems to do very well against. Both of those games are going to be real opportunities here for Harry Kane to deliver something, you know, special. And I know we're all probably going to be thinking about Captain Haaland, but I think Harry Kane in that match day or that game week could be pretty big. And finally, we've got Mitrovic, another player with a double game week coming up soon. That Leicester-Chelsea double game week, which is pretty nice. Mitrovic, I think he played very well in the World Cup in parts. I know he hasn't been 100% fit, but hopefully by now he has had enough time to regain his full fitness, which is very, very positive. And Fulham are going to really need him to get some points on the board over the next few game weeks. That Newcastle game, however, in a few game weeks' time, that's probably where I'll be looking to remove Mitrovic, to be honest. I don't think we have to keep him. And I do think there are some other nice forwards that we could potentially go for. You know, the likes of Darwin Nunez at Liverpool. We can maybe think about Martial as well. I know he's got a tricky fixture in that game week as well. But, you know, even if you want to go for, you know, if Eddie Nketiah looks like he's going to be starting for Arsenal, maybe he's a player that we want to be thinking about. So there are definitely some other options there. To be fair, Eddie Nketiah, you know, I think Arsenal have got some double game weeks coming up as well. Maybe it's a good moment to jump on Eddie Nketiah for that match game week, for the Newcastle game for Mitrovic. Switch him to Nketiah when Nketiah has a double game week, assuming that he is starting every game up until then. But the benefit is we get to have a few weeks to have a look and see if Nketiah is going to be the new main striker for Arsenal, or if it's Martinelli is going to be moving to the striker position. Less likely, but possible, I suppose. But we can just get a good idea, get a good read on the situation, which I think will be beneficial to be able to do that. So yeah, Mitrovic will be the final forward in that position. But that's the starting 11. Let's have a look at the bench, because we have got some players on the bench here. So Ward is there. I mean, pretty obvious to go for Ward as your backup goalkeeper. He was doing very well for Leicester before the break. Maybe not as impressive at the World Cup, but hey, he's back at Leicester, and Leicester are an improving team. This season for sure. But yeah, you'd probably be captaining Kepa primarily, but it's nice to have that backup just in case, particularly if Kepa is unavailable for maybe that first game back. We've got Ben White here, who is back in training for Arsenal. Obviously returned to the camp fairly early. There's some good fixtures coming up for Ben White, so he's a good backup player to have there. But also, like I was saying earlier, Arsenal, very likely that we're going to see a double game week for them very soon. I believe their double game week fixture will be against Everton. And if so, it would be nice to get ahead of it a little bit. I don't think you need to, you know, load up on Arsenal players right now, but you should at least have them in mind. And I think since we have unlimited transfers anyway, Ben White is a fairly cheap price at 4.7 million, and a decent option as well. We saw him getting up the right-hand side flank, playing at right back for Arsenal quite a lot this season, which has been pretty good, really. So yeah, Ben White's definitely a player who I think is an easy way into the Arsenal defence and an easy way to get ahead of the double game weeks that are likely to come Arsenal's way very, very soon. We've got Patterson here, who is the 4 million legend, who is back in full fitness. Can't wait to see him in action. But yeah, again, just a decent bench option. And finally, Andreas Pereira, who can forget, the 4.5 million legend, who does indeed have that double game week coming up as well against Leicester and Chelsea in a few game weeks time. In a game week, is it 19? They have the double. So yeah, it'll be nice to just have him on the bench, ready to go, ready for that double game week, so you don't have to worry about spending transfers on him. And then you're probably going to be dropping out. I don't know. You're probably, Almiron out when Almiron plays against Arsenal. Maybe bring in Andreas for his double game week. That seems reasonably sensible, a reasonably nice move to make potentially there to get that, that extra double game week player. So what we have here, basically, guys, is when we have the double game week with Chelsea and Fulham, well, we've already got 5 players from these teams already, so we're already prepared for that. We don't need to worry about making the transfers for them anytime, we can be pretty reactive with our transfers. We can save some transfers, and that allows us to then pivot from these Chelsea and Fulham players to some other teams that double, the likes of Man City, the likes of Spurs, the likes of Everton. Like I said, we've got a Patterson already to cover that one if Everton end up having a double game week soon. The likes of Arsenal players. Yeah, if we go for the Chelsea and Fulham now, hope that we don't have to make many transfers over the next couple of game weeks, and then from there, we can then move our players to more double game week players and just flip from this double game week player to this double game week player to this double game week player, because they're all at different times, which I think is so amazing. Usually we see all of the teams kind of having a double game week at a very, very similar time, or at the same game week, or maybe one game week after the other, just 2 big double game weeks. But at this exact moment, we're seeing them all over the place. So we've got to be prepared to use our transfers. We've got to be prepared to pivot from this player to this player to this player. And the best way to do that is to start off with some players who have the first of these double game weeks. So yeah, double game weeks are very, very important. You guys know this by now. But yeah, finally, guys, let's have a look at some captaincy. Erling Haaland for the captain's armband, really, really obvious one there. Yeah, let's just get him back in action. He is, he's very keen. Everything he's been saying on social media and in the media in general, he is very keen to get back stuck in and scoring some goals and breaking some records for Man City. So we're going to be seeing that for sure from him. And vice captain on Harry Kane, because I do also feel like that Brentford game for Spurs is a good fixture. Like that is there's some opportunities to score goals there. But hey, you can maybe consider Bruno Fernandes as well for the vice captain. But at the end of the day, it's going to be the Haaland show. It's going to be the Haaland show for a couple of weeks. Maybe Chelsea is the only game week you might be thinking about captaining someone else potentially out of your team. But for now, let's go Haaland for captaincy. So there you go, guys. That is my Game Week 17 team as things currently stand. Obviously, we've got a little while before we have to lock this in. We've got a few more days to make this decision, so this is definitely not final. I'm sure I'll get some more news. I'm sure there's little things and bits of information that I might have missed out in my research that I've done so far, and we're going to be going absolutely ham on the research over the next week with videos every day and streams as well, even on Christmas Day, even on Boxing Day. There is no rest for the wicked. If the football don't stop, then I don't stop either. So yeah, we're going to be going crazy. But this is what I'm looking at now. What do you think, guys? One thing before we go, because I know you guys will be shouting at me in the comments. The one thing I don't like about this team, and this is the one thing that I haven't quite worked out how I'm going to fix yet, is Liverpool players, because I would quite like to get a Salah, a Darwin Nunez in here somehow, or even an Andy Robertson. Those 3 players I would potentially like to get in this team, and I think there is potential to move Mitrovic to Darwin maybe, and then go back and Mitrovic for the double game week, or just maybe not go for Mitrovic at all. But do I trust Darwin Nunez? I'm not sure if I do. Obviously, Salah would be nice to have. Can we downgrade somewhere and upgrade Fernandes to a Salah potentially? Do we need Harry Kane? But Harry Kane has that double game week coming up. Can we wait a few weeks before getting Harry Kane for his double game week? There's still questions to be answered, guys. So this is not final. I would like some Liverpool players. So please don't, interpret this team as, oh, Dan doesn't like Liverpool players. I do. I just haven't quite figured out how to get them in and be totally happy with my team. And right now, I'm really happy with this team, and I don't really want to mess around with it too much. But research coming up, more videos coming up. We're going to come up to a good solution by Boxing Day, the 26th of December, when FPL finally does return. Thank you guys so much for watching, and you know, just welcome back to a lot of you guys who haven't been following the World Cup content. I really appreciate you guys coming back and sticking with me, basically. If you wouldn't mind leaving a like on the video, that would be really appreciated. 1,000 likes would be amazing for the big return to FPL. I'm super excited about it. I think you could probably tell that, to be honest. But yeah, just thanks for sticking around. I genuinely do appreciate that. Subscribe if you're new around here. More videos coming up. We're going to be doing some streams as well. Hopefully cover everything that you want to cover, but if there's anything you really want me to cover that you feel like I may be missing out, then be sure to leave a comment and let me know what you want to hear about, and let me know what you think about this team as well. But I think we'll call it there, guys. Thank you so much for watching once again, and I will see you later, mates. Bye bye.